when and where the planets discovered in our solar system. The first 5 planets of our sensational system square measure terribly arduous thus far, being visible to the eye meant they were all known earlier. After all, it will rely upon their distance and whether or not you count actual up-close sightings. However, the invention date is unknown. What we have a tendency to do recognize although is their initial recorded date. The planets have modified over time and every one is like associate in nursing elder of the sky, observation over each star, organism and speck of mud within the whole system. Here we're progressing to undergo the date of every planet's discovery, whether or not written or actual, and a few fun facts concerning every surprise. Mercury. As I aforesaid earlier, because of its positioning and visibility to the eye, Mercury doesn't have a definitive discovery date. The Mul-Dap-In tablets hold the earliest familiar recorded observations of the world associate in nursing were probably created by an Assyrian uranologist. The tablets themselves square measure thought thus far back to 1000 BCE or earlier. They contain the biggest living record of Babylonian stars and constellations. The cuneiform name, cuneiform being a sort of writing utilized in geographic region, Persia, and Ugarit, used on these tablets for Mercury is Udu.idim.gu4.ud or the jumping planet. Later on, the Romans referred to as the world Mercury when their traveler god because it moves across the sky quicker than the other planet. Mercury's temperatures reach a rather hot 840 degrees Fahrenheit, 450 degrees Celsius. It's 18 times smaller than Earth with a diameter of 3,031 miles, 4,878 kilometers, and goes round the Sun each 88 days. Someday on Mercury lasts just below 59 Earth days. Jacques Dartin was the primary to go to Mercury flying by in 1974 and 1975, seeing but half the world. After that no more was seen for over 30 years. Then in 2008 NASA's Messenger spacecraft flew by and in 2011 it began orbiting the planet sending photos back to Earth. Venus. The first written observation of Venus is a record spanning 21 years of its appearance in the sky, written on a Babylonian text from 1600 BC. It's also one of the oldest surviving astronomical documents. Galileo Galilei in 1610, the first person to observe Venus through a telescope, noticed the planet goes through moon-like phases. This supported the Copernican view that the planets orbit the Sun, and not the Earth as earlier thought. The surface of Venus reaches 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 480 degrees Celsius. Venus has no known moons and is 20% smaller than the Earth. 1 year on the planet equates to 225 Earth days. The symbol of Venus is also that of the female, the comma alongside this. All but 3 of Venus' surface features are named after famous women from around the world. The other 3 are Alpha Regia, Beta Regia, and Maxwell Mondes. Earth. Of course Earth wasn't discovered, apart from each individual's discovery upon entry into this green and blue spinning glory. The first photo of Earth from the space was captured by a V-2 test rocket on the 24th of October 1946. The spherical nature of Earth was previously the cause of many heated debates. The idea was mentioned in Greek philosophy in the 6th century BC, but until the 3rd century BC it was nothing more than speculation. Hellenistic astronomy backed up the concept, and up until the Middle Ages the idea wriggled itself into people's beliefs. Ferdinand Magellan and Juan Sebastian Elcano's round-the-world voyage between 1519 and 1522 was conclusive proof of the Earth's spherical nature. As we all probably know, the Earth has 4 layers, the crust, mantle, outer core and inner core, and is 70% water. However, more interestingly, if Earth was the size of a nickel, the Sun would be a front door. Mars. The first recorded observations of Mars were from ancient Egyptian astronomers in the 2nd millennium BC. In around 300 BC, Aristotle weighed in, noting that Mars is actually further away than the Moon after noticing the Moon passed in front of Mars, proving of course it must be closer. Galileo once again possibly had the first telescopic view of Mars between 1608 and 1610. But Francisco Fontana made the first actual records in 1636. His sketches showed more the poor quality of telescopes of the day rather than any real depiction of Mars. Christian Huygens probably made the first informative Mars sketch in 1659. In 1965, 22 photos of Mars, the first close-up photos of any other planet outside Earth, were sent back by NASA's Mariner 4. Mars has a surface temperature averaging -81 degrees Fahrenheit, -63 degrees Celsius, and is around 50% the size of Earth and has 38% of the Earth's gravity. Jupiter. Jupiter has been known as the Wandering Star or similar names for millennia. The first written records of Jupiter date back to the Babylonians in the 7th/8th century BC. By the 4th century BC, the ancient Chinese had split the sky into 12 zodiac regions, with Jupiter or the year star passing through one region each year. In 1610 Galileo discovered the planet's 4 large moons known as the Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Galileo noted the 4 moons' motions around Jupiter. This was the first record of a center of motion not revolving around Earth. The first visit to Jupiter was in 1973 by the space probe Pioneer 10, which took the earliest close-up photos of the planet, revealing the first real properties about the mysterious orb. Jupiter, with an effective temperature of -234 degrees Fahrenheit, -148 degrees Celsius, is the largest planet in our solar system. Its 50 moons and 3 rings. The world incorporates a fascinating storm that has been raging across the surface for many years. It additionally has drastically completely different gravity thereto of Earth. If on Earth you weigh 100 pounds, 45.4 kilograms, you'd weigh 253 pounds, 114.76 kilograms, on Jupiter. Saturn. Saturn is the last planet whose discovery date cannot be pinpointed, however it looks that it had been initially recorded by the Assyrians. Therefore said to own written the oldest records of Saturn, or the star of Ninib, describing it as a sparkle within the night around 700 BC. Later on, ancient Greeks named a clear wandering star Kronos, when the god of agriculture in 400 BC that the Romans later renamed Saturnus. Once astronomer initially monitored Saturn within the early 1600s, he didn't suppose the world had rings, however that it had been associate and nursing object with 3 components or a triple planet. Christian Huygens, over 40 years later, formed that the 3 objects were really rings as we all know these days, the rings themselves square measure fabricated from rock and ice. Saturn has 53 familiar moons and is 886 million miles. 1.4 billion km, from the Sun with an efficient temperature of -288 degrees Fahrenheit, -178 degrees Celsius. 1 Saturn year is the equivalent of 29 Earth years. Pioneer 11 took the primary close-up pictures of Saturn when passing simply 20,000 metric linear unit on top of Saturn's clouds. Uranus. Sir astronomer discovered Uranus in 1781. Herschel was most likely the foremost celebrated Uranologist of the 18th century, being the primary to spot the opaque spiral structure. Australian scientists from Cooper Mobile Observatory and therefore the State Capital Observatory in 1977 accomplished the world incorporates a band of rings like that of Saturn, quite the notice seeing as they were really simply trying to observe Uranus passing ahead of SAO 158,687, a distant star. Voyager 2 made the first flyby in 1986 finding 10 new moons, a stronger magnetic field than Saturn and 2 new rings after coming within 81,500 kilometers, 50,600 miles, of the top of the planet's clouds. Voyager 2 is still the only craft to ever make it to Uranus. Uranus, the blue giant, is given its strangely blue tint due to the methane in its atmosphere and is often also called an ice giant as it's made of a dense hot fluid of icy materials on top of a small rocky core. It's also the planet with the largest tilt of any in our solar system, spinning on its side and has an average temperature of -350 degrees Fahrenheit, -212 degrees Celsius. A day on Uranus lasts 17 Earth hours and a year on the planet equates to 84 years on Earth. Neptune. John Couch Adams, an English astronomer, is credited with Neptune's discovery in 1846. At 24-year-old, Adams was the first person to predict the position of a planetary mass past Uranus. Adams was very close to not being recognized as the discoverer of Neptune after failing to publish his prediction. Johann Gottfried Galle, a German astronomer, and Heinrich Louis d'Arrest using calculations by Urbain Jean-Joseph Leverrier, a French mathematician, confirmed Neptune's existence. Couch and Leverrier can often both be cited as the discoverers of Neptune. Neptune is rather noteworthy. It was the first planet to be found through mathematical predictions rather than telescopic location. Neptune takes almost 165 Earth years to orbit the Sun, as it's more than 30 times as far from the Sun as the Earth is. That means the most recent complete orbit was completed in 2011, after discovery in 1846. Neptune is a windy place. Its wind speeds can be 9 times stronger than that of Earth. Pluto. Pluto, the is-it/isn't-it planet, that has been at the center of the many planetary debates. Clyde Stargazer, in 1930, discovered Pluto when a careful sky survey at the Arizonian Lowell Observatory, when several theorized the planet should be out there to clarify some weird happenings with Uranus and Neptune's orbits. The world is known as when, of course, the Roman god. The name was really projected by Italian Regent Bernie, associating nursing 11-year-old little girl from Oxford, England. The primary flyby occurred on Gregorian calendar month Ordinal 2015, wherever the primary high-res pictures were taken of the world throughout the New Horizons mission. Pluto was formally smitten off as a planet in 2006, and is currently the second largest dwarf planet in our system and therefore the second nighest to the Sun. Planet X. Researchers from Caltech have found proof deep within the system of a doable Planet X. Director of NASA's Planetary Science Division, Jim Inexperienced4 said the chance of a brand new planet is definitely associated in nursing exciting one for all people. This is often not, however, the discovery of a brand new planet. It's too early to say. There's alleged Planet X. What we're seeing is associated in nursing early prediction-supported modeling from restricted observations. It's the beginning of a method that might result in associated in nursing exciting result. Planet X, or Planet 9 as it's additionally been nicknamed, may be the dimensions of Neptune associating nursing has an orbit way on the far side that of Pluto's, probably between 10,000 to 20,000 Earth years. This weird world may have around 10 times the mass of the planet and its orbit reaches 20 times farther from the Sun on the average than Neptune. So there we've got it, our perception of the system has after all modified over time, whether or not it's comprised of 8 or 9 planets simply to begin with. No matter range, although, every planet has an unbelievable tale, and at some purpose, the visible planets at the terribly least, are command terribly extremely in cultures across the globe and in mythology. From the hot temperatures of Venus to the storm cacophonic across the superior planet Jupiter, there extremely are some things mind-blowing to be told concerning every planet, and that we haven't even scraped the surface.